Hello everyone. Today's video is about speciation, or the way that new species are formed. So, speciation occurs when two parts of a population, of a species, can no longer exchange genes or exchange that much. So they build up mutations within their general areas until the two parts of the population are now two distinct species. So you can think of this diagram as a range of how isolated this new niche has to be in order to form a new species. On this side, there's a large barrier which causes no genetic information to be exchanged. And on this side, they basically occur in the same area. So start from the left side of the diagram. The most isolated form of speciation is called allopatric. And this is when there's a large geographical barrier that prevents the two halves of the population, two parts of the population, from exchanging genes. This causes them to build mutations within their respective parts and then make a new species. So, a common example of this is the Galapagos finches that Darwin discovered and studied. So, when the finches got separated by the islands, creating a geographical barrier between them, developed traits specific to their islands, such as different sized beaks, which allowed them to better eat the food that was available on their respective island. And because of these traits being selected for over time, they created new species that could not interbreed with each other. So the next one would be Peripatric speciation, when there is a new niche on the border of the old niche that is they're not able to exchange genes with the original area. So an example of this would be the London Underground mosquitoes. Now, some mosquitoes had moved underground in London during World War II. So you can see it's on a border of that same area of London. But they still could not exchange genes with the original population since, well, they were underground. So then slowly over time, they developed into a new species. And then this caused different traits, such as they feed on mammals instead of birds. So third form, and we're getting slightly less isolated here, is called Parapatric. So this is a new niche of the original population that is still able to exchange genetic information, but they just don't do it enough so that over time they still become two separate species. An example of this would be the Tennessee cave salamander, which has two different areas where it lives, either in the caves or above ground. So the ones that live in caves and the ones that live above ground exchange information with each other, but they don't do it often enough since they just live in different regions within the same area. And over time, the Tennessee cave salamander developed into a separate species. The final and least isolated of all of the speciation methods is called Sympatric speciation. These occur in the exact same area. And there's usually some sort of difference that spurs that two different parts of this population don't mate with each other. For example, it could be something like a polyploidy or a different number of chromosomes, which would make mating incompatible. An example of this, not of polyploidy, but of sympatric speciation, would be of the apple maggot, which started to speciate because of the fact that some of them decide to lay their eggs on apples instead of the usual fruit of the hawthorn tree. Now, when this happened, the males of the species wanted to find mates on the fruit that they were born on. So ones that were born on apples only found mates on apples, and ones that were born on hawthorn trees only wanted to find mates on hawthorn trees. Because of this, members species from apples or hawthorn trees cease to mate, and then they form two separate species. So, in summary, allopatric speciation is when a large geographical barrier forms between two parts of a population that makes it unable for them to exchange genetic information. Parapatric is a niche that's on the border of the main population that isn't able to exchange genetic information and therefore forms a new species. Parapatric speciation is when a new niche is entered that can still exchange genetic information with the original, but it just doesn't do it that much. And sympatric speciation is speciation that occurs in the same population due to some kind of change that makes mating incompatible or not happen. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.